Welcome back to Coast Files, your podcast for ocean mysteries and true crime. I'm Chantel.
I'm Lindsay.
And I'm Megan.
Hello, ladies.
Hi.
How are we
Hello.
today?
I
Good.
feel rushed because of my own choices. We were supposed to
That's fair.
record we were a little bit late because of some technical difficulties, but let's say about a half hour ago. And I had all intents of doing that and then researching a future case, the rabbit holes. And then I was yelling at Damien as if he knew what I was talking about. And he was like, okay, calm down. Anywho, and then hence I'm late now. But
Yeah, every time that I get research anything for this, it's
you're-
like it
you're
was kind of
studying
a
the
study.
topic,
Yeah,
sure.
it's so many rabbit holes.
That's the best
It's almost
part.
my favorite part. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Especially if they're like a good one that I can share with you guys. Sometimes I go down these rabbit holes and I'm like, this is
Yeah,
too
I'm
much.
like, this
is
is
going to
not
be a
part of the
3
story
hour.
anymore.
or I feel like when you get to that point, you want to share, but you've already gone so far off the path. You're like, they're going to think that I'm insane that I've landed here. But see,
You literally have the red string, like a cork board in the back.
I give you full permission though to always share, and you don't even have to tell me the whole thread. Just say I started here, and so now I'm telling you about Pizzagate. That's fine. I still would like to hear it.
Yeah, that's very fair.
And everyone listening will hear my case. I don't know. I guess in 4 weeks. Oh wow, sorry for that. That's a long time to wait.
4
It's
weeks?
good. It's really good.
I know. We're already now pretty far into January, even though
2 weeks. Well,
No,
whenever
filming,
and it's
Okay, actually, I'm going to mention what day it is. So, because it
Okay.
has to do with why I chose.
why don't we
the
just
case.
let you start your
Yeah, you
episode
start.
and we'll just listen.
Okay.
people know it's still Christmassy time.
Yes,
around
it is.
here. It is
Which
after
is why
Christmas,
we're kind of
but
stressed.
Yeah, it's been crazy.
We are
month.
still
It's
in
the
holiday
holidays.
mode.
We're still in 2024 currently while we are recording this.
At the very
and,
end of
yeah,
it.
It's
Is
very like
2025
tomorrow is the last day.
Is 2025 at least the same? I don't know if I can take
hope
it any
so.
worse, but it's at least it's the same.
Who knows? Remember the first month of every year over the past 5 years has just been
Doesn't count.
chaos.
Yeah.
So let's see where we're at now.
We'll see what happens.
I'm gonna hope. What is it? Hope for the best, but expect the worst. You know. So
Which sounds so
Um,
negative, but that is how you survive.
Yeah.
Take your
It's how you survive
expectations
mentally.
and then put them in the basement. And then
It can only go up from there.
Yeah, there we go.
fucking
Wait,
hopefully.
Well, actually, okay. So we are today when this comes out is the 24th of January. Anyways,
Like
this
you're asking me,
Saturday is going to be the 27th, which is National Florida Day. What is National Florida Day, you ask?
we celebrate
They
all
have a
the
day?
dumpster fires in Gatorland.
Actually, so it's to celebrate when Florida's admission as the 27th state. So sorry, this is the 25th of January is when that happens. So it was to commemorate that Florida's admission as the 27th state of the United States, which happened on March 3rd, 1845.
Oh,
We're celebrating
I have
in
a question.
January.
Okay, no, I went after that question.
Okay, as you should.
And I
That's
was
such a
like-
Florida thing to do.
Why is this happening? And I went down all
Rabbit hole.
these different rabbit holes on Reddit, and what's that other one that always comes up? E something. Quora, not E something. Quora, not
Okay.
even close. Opposite end of the alphabet.
Yeah, Q and E,
something.
basically the same
Quora.
letter.
Yeah.
Same letter.
So this one woman was like, I'm 7 years old and I've lived in Florida my whole life. And I asked some friends as well, and they have no idea what National Florida Day is. They were like, we celebrate this on March 3rd. They go, all that we can deduce is that this happened in 2017 as a marketing scheme for travel. Because January is when most people are wanting to leave and get away. It's after the holidays.
Yeah.
And they said it was likely just a marketing thing. They were like, we don't celebrate anything on this day. And we do it on March 3rd instead. And they also have another date that they celebrate. I couldn't remember what it was for, but anyways.
But we're going to
anyways,
celebrate Florida today.
we are. And the reason is because I wanted to finally tell us about the Windover Bog bodies.
Yay!
Yay!
Let the bog bodies hit the floor. Let the bog bodies hit the floor.
Oh, and they hit the floor. So Florida is more than just gators and mosquitoes. It also
What?
has mummies. I know. Pretty
Oh my
exciting.
goodness. So I when I was growing up, actually Florida was like to me the epitome of travel destinations.
Oh,
for those
same.
places
Yeah.
I've been to.
Because we
And
were
it
from
had
Nova
Disney World.
Scotia.
And I'm like, Florida has everything and it's warm. It has beaches.
What would it be
and has
like
Disney
to
World,
and
and
not
has
have it rain
geckos
every
and
day?
frogs.
my opinion of Florida has like drastically altered over the years, but I'm sure it's still great. And I have a friend that lives there and she seems to love it. So
I mean,
Yeah.
Florida is like every other place. It's not all good. It's not all bad. But the bad is so bonkers banana pants that you're just like, is it even
yeah,
real?
am I
Bonkers
like,
banana
would I be prepared to live in a place like Florida? I don't know.
So my brother, so he is a huge like traveler for 4 days here, 5 days here because of the way his job works. He'll have like his weekend could be like a week or like 5 days,
Oh, yeah.
right? Well, same like if you're a nurse working in a hospital, you may have
Yeah.
like big blocks of time. So him and his wife will say, okay, we can get round trip flights for like $200 a piece to Florida. And I'm like, I hate Florida in terms of a lot of it of the what it stands for. Like most people that live there, not most. I'm digging a hole. You know what I'm trying to say, right? Florida has like certain vibes
anyone
about
from
it.
Florida
There-
listening,
there
we
is
love
certain-
you.
They know. Yeah, no, listen. The people
There's
that are
certain
they're listening,
stigmas around Florida now.
the people
Yeah.
listening, you know, I'm not talking about you, right? Like that's just what I'm trying to say. So
We're cool, right?
So he goes to Florida all
We're
the
talking
time.
about your weird uncle.
Yes. The family that makes every holiday super awkward because they say like those gays, and if you dye your hair a different color, they're like, "What's wrong with them?"
Yeah.
not those people.
Oh, is that your okay?
That's totally
you-
fair. We actually
forget
at
where I
one
was
point
going
I
with
would love
that.
to go to St. Augustine, Florida. Apparently, it's like the most haunted place in the U.S.
There's a lighthouse.
Ooh.
I
So
think
we
on
should
our
go.
list that we were going to
Yeah,
talk
we
about.
could go there.
And
So,
also
just putting it out
Disney,
there.
obviously.
Well, today, this
I
isn't
don't really
as
care about going to
exciting.
Disney.
Universal.
I didn't. You know what?
Oh,
So anytime that I went to Florida, anytime I went twice. My
So
family. lived
anytime that
there.
I went.
Anytime that I went, any
Yeah.
of the 2 times, we didn't go
That's
to Disney.
50% more
even
than
though
me.
my aunt worked at Disney, we didn't even go. We always went to because we wanted more of the rides. Because Disney's like didn't
Sorry.
have as many rides. It was
So
more
when
of like
I-
a thing
when
to
I
see.
said
So I went to
Disney-
Universal Studios
Yeah,
and
my-
Islands of Adventure. We went to Busch Gardens. We did that, and it was amazing. I loved it.
Disney
Any day.
would still be cool to go even for because there's a few rides that I went to when I was a kid. The one time I went, but my heart meant to say like Universal because like cool rides and all the
Yeah.
movies and stuff. And
My first time at Disney was actually Disneyland in
California,
LA. Yeah.
oh,
Why?
okay. I've
Well,
only been to
Anaheim,
Disney
actually.
World, so
Because my girlfriend and I were going to LA and Vegas, and we were like,
oh no,
let's
I
go
remember
to
that trip.
Anaheim.
When
Yeah.
you said first time, I thought you meant like as a kid. No, I
No, no,
remember
no.
that. And you
As
guys
an
rented a
adult.
car and like going on the
Yeah.
coast.
Oh my
Ugh.
god! And I was driving, and it was
All right.
awful. And it was
bog
Okay.
bodies.
Yeah,
Anyway,
anyway,
back to
into
bog
it.
bodies.
So first, when I started looking into this, I really didn't understand what a bog was. So I am going to tell you guys more about what a bog is, and I promise it's not as boring as it sounds.
I never thought it was boring. I find these kinds of things cool. Like, but we're
Yeah,
weird.
I mean, I
so-
definitely didn't think it was going to be exciting, so I'm excited to hear your take on the bog.
I mean, the more things we learn about it, the more exciting it gets. But the first
Okay.
photo there is a photo of just like a bog, so you can kind of see what it looks like. And if you look up the dictionary's definition, it is a wet, muddy ground too soft to support a heavy body. So that seems pretty easy, but to me, I had more questions.
It doesn't look
So-
muddy. It looks very just wet.
It's marshy.
Yes, but it's different than a marsh. Because I
Oh
looked
my
up the difference
God.
between a
Oh.
marsh, a swamp, and a bog. I'm not going to get into that because there was too much stuff. But anyways, they are
Now
different.
that does sound boring. I'll be honest.
We'll save that for another day.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well, or
exactly.
maybe we just skip it.
So by defining that it's too soft to support a heavy body, it does in fact mean that you cannot walk on it. Like you will sink. The ground is not level. And it's mainly just like wet, spongy, poorly drained soil. So it's like it's just really, really dense, wet soil, basically.
I want to touch it. I want to like do this.
I
like
know.
like top of a waterbed,
So you're just going to get stuck if you try and walk on it.
and I'll become a bog body. So we're not
yeah,
gonna.
exactly. Don't do that. Man-made bogs are different. because there's like bogs, cranberry bogs and all that stuff. So they're a little bit different in how they look and what they're made of. And we're not going to get into the
Mhm.
cranberry
I
spiders
was gonna
today.
say, I've
Okay.
only seen the commercials, and I'm like, it's like a big lake full of cranberries.
Essentially, but it's a
Okay,
man-made
okay,
bog.
okay.
But a bog typically forms in an area where it's either flat or kind of depressed land, and it has no gradient. And also, the water can't flow anywhere else. So, and the subsoil is normally clay or bedrock below, so it's not
Nothing
permeable at
seeps.
all. So the
Mhm.
water can't seep into it.
Okay.
And they'll also typically be in an area that has a lot of rainfall. So it's never actually fed by any water from anywhere else. It's completely from
Oh, just
rain.
rainwater.
Yeah, so
Oh.
it's nothing seeping up from
Oh.
the ground and it's nothing going into it. It's all just rainwater.
So bogs, I guess, in theory, can dry up, or no, I guess they can't.
Yes.
It's
So
just fairly slow
actually, that's
drainage.
my
Yeah.
I do get there.
Okay,
So
just
they do
curious.
tend to be more acidic and nutrient poor environment. So there's not a lot of things that actually live in there. But it's the perfect birthing ground for peat, which plays a big role in these bug bodies. So
If
what
you
is
like the
peat?
1300s, you know all about peat, right?
Mhm. Yeah,
Just making
yeah,
sure. Okay.
exactly. So peat is formed in waterlogged areas like bogs from decomposed plant matter
Okay.
that sits in these areas, and it sits for such a long period of time and is commonly used in soil to help maintain certain pH levels. So you'll hear that a lot about like peat moss to put in your soil or in your garden.
Mhm.
Um, and fun fact, colder climates have slower decomposition rates, so their bogs tend to have more peat. And another one is that when peat is subjected to high heat and pressure, it changes both physiologically and chemically through a process called coalification, meaning it turns into coal.
That I'm glad when things
Oh,
mean what
so
they
this is where
sound
Santa
like.
goes for all his.
It is. He makes it
stash.
all from peat. And so kind of like what Megan said, where they could evaporate out. So bogs are normally found in colder climates because of the evaporation that will happen in the warmer climates. But Windover just happens to have the perfect conditions for a bog.
And also,
Oh,
Florida's pretty
okay.
muggy and just wet in general. Like they're hot
Yeah.
and they're
They're
like
humid
swampy.
as well. You need that
Humid.
humid condition too, right? Um, so really we're just gonna jump into the discovery here of the Windover bog body because there's a lot to it. So
I'm pumped.
it's 1982, and the company that you drive a backhoe for has been called to an area to build a new housing development, and you're just minding your business, doing your job, and suddenly you notice not one, not two, but several skulls in your bucket.
What?
I would
Oh,
probably just pass out on the spot.
I think I
like you're
would
digging in
assume that
this
they're mannequin
bog
skulls somehow.
and
Like
never
Yeah.
assume it's a mannequin.
I know. Well, I know, but I would because and also I mean like you weren't there.
Sorry, a skull mannequin? No, you would not assume that's a mannequin.
Was this around
Yeah, someone
Halloween
dumped
time?
all their science projects in this one spot.
Yeah, it's actually
Conveniently.
Was
just
it a dumping ground for a morgue? That
Was
they
it
don't know what to do with their
one-
bodies?
Was it one scoop and multiple skulls in one
Yes.
scoop?
Yeah.
What the hell? That sounds fake.
I know. So that must have been very jarring for the guy that was driving
he
it.
spit his Monster Energy drink out
Like,
and
I
was
don't
like,
get paid enough
yeah.
for this. I'm
And-
out of here.
And I'm assuming this would have led to a lot of like, okay, so is this, do we get like CSI here? Like, who do we get here? So eventually they got everybody there.
CSI Miami?
Well, oh yeah.
Is it near
Ooh.
Miami? Is this near Miami?
I don't know how close Windover is to Miami, actually. We can look that up
Horatio
later.
Caine would get on one of those swamp things and he would just be flying over with the sunglasses on.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there we
the,
go.
the theme song's playing in my head already.
Yeah, I mean, such a good
So,
song.
They came, they figured out, no, this is an archaeological site. And so the original developers, Jack Eckert and Jim Swan, even though the site would have been taken away from them due to the National Historic Preservation Act, they did volunteer over the land, and they even went as far as donating $60,000 of pumping equipment to help drain the bog to help with the dig.
That's really
Recovery of-
nice.
yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
suspicious.
I mean, I'm always suspicious of rich people who are nice, but like, it seems like they were both just like, okay, like,
I know.
will
I'd
we
be
work
nicer
our
if I were
plans?
rich.
Well, Lindsay, but you're
Less
one of
problems.
like, you're a normal rich person. These are like Epstein Island
Building
rich people.
developments
Yeah.
in Florida.
Okay,
But so I guess
that's
what they
fair.
did was they just redid where they were going to be building the road so that they didn't have to do it over
Mhm.
this area. So even though they were helping drain in the bog still took so it took 2 years to get the permits.
Oh.
So 1984. Then the
Christ.
draining itself took 2 more years to
What the hell?
yeah, to drain this entire bog, and then they were actually able to finally begin in 1986.
Well, this happens a lot whenever like bodies are discovered, or especially once it's an archaeological site. That was a hard
Mhm.
word. And you have to pause. I know. I don't know if I'm going to get through it.
Yeah.
I think I still messed it up.
No,
That's all
you're
right.
good.
But they have to pause and examine everything first. It happens a
Yeah.
lot in Europe.
Yes.
When I was actually in France, they
So
were trying to
old.
build this like tram system, and they found a ton of bodies. So like, all right, well, if we pause
I
this
think I
now
remember you
and
told me that.
and
I think
yeah,
I
and-
remember
and-
this too. Like
and
Europe,
make sure we identify.
Europe is like, don't ever build a basement if it's not already there. Don't do it,
Right.
Because it's just not
There's
worth.
probably people under your basement.
Yeah.
Like, there's bodies everywhere.
Or something
even in Chicago.
like even just like a piece of plate will stop
Wait.
it.
What about Chicago and bodies?
Oh. Well, so I went on a ghost tour back in October, and apparently they used to just kind of bury bodies because they didn't really. They had cemeteries, but a lot of bodies were just kind of buried
What, like on the side of the road?
throughout north of the city's loop, because they thought past.
No one's ever going to
where
build
I-
up here.
no one's going to build up
Yeah,
here
okay.
ever. So there are a lot of bodies, probably even under where I'm living now, that
Mhm.
were just, they're like, yeah, we have to put them somewhere, and eventually people wanted to build. So
I would have never
it
even
just-
considered that ever.
yeah, all the way up into almost where like the zoo is, where I took you guys.
Oh,
That's where
oh,
the
really?
ghost tour was, and I said there's bodies kind of up
holy
there
shit!
too.
So, yeah,
it is
like Megan
probably
said,
crazy to think about
just
how many bodies are underground.
Never build a
Just-
basement, and you'll
don't
never
build a
have to
basement.
know.
Yeah. So this site is considered one of the most important archaeological sites ever excavated. Thank you. I had to practice that word a lot, so that's the only reason.
Archaeological.
It was good. Like, round of applause.
Thank you.
Do it
I'll mess it up
snaps.
later. So who were the Windover people that we find here? So they were indigenous people of the area from between 5,370 to 5,260 BCE, which is
Whoa.
called the Middle Archaic period. And
Wow.
I did actually read somewhere that at the time of them digging, this was actually I think it was a pond now, but it used to be a bog because of the way that like water levels had changed in the area.
Bog, pond, gross
so
water.
now it
Don't
was like
drink.
being fed by things, which I think might have made it even harder for them to actually
Hence
get
the
all
2
the water
years
out
of
of it.
pumping
Yeah.
water out.
Mhm.
Mm.
Yeah. All in all, 168 graves were discovered. So you can see the next photo there is a little graphic of what they found of male, female, and children.
Holy hell!
Yeah.
Wait, so or the
Actually, that might be male, female, and unknown. There might have been some. No, I think it's male, female,
Okay.
and children, because they did say there was a lot of children that were there.
It's hard to tell, but this looks pretty like 1 for 1 for 1. Like
So
like families.
we get into it.
Because I mean, you would imagine if it was all women, it was some kind of like sacrificial whatever. If it was all men,
Yeah,
some
so
kind
we
of
get into
battle.
all the different things that these
Okay.
could be. So the bodies led to
And sorry,
some
how many people again altogether?
168 graves were discovered. That doesn't mean that there
168.
wasn't more. That's all that they were
Okay.
able to discover.
Just, or like positively identify as like a complete
Yeah, exactly.
person.
Or as like a specific person. So the bodies led to some really interesting and amazing discoveries about what life was like back then.
What was
I still
life?
knew what you were
What
saying
was
when you.
life? 91 of the skulls discovered had remarkably well-preserved brain tissue inside that was able to be used for DNA sequencing.
How?
Yeah,
It's incredible.
because of the peat, which we'll get into.
Pete, aka nature's Ziploc bag.
Basically. This also told them that the bodies that were buried about 24 to 48 hours after death. So it was very quick that they did this. They showed signs of disease such as tuberculosis, osteoporosis, and arthritis, things that still afflict us today. Some bodies had healed fractures evident on the remains and others showed signs of wounds that likely killed them. Their DNA also showed that it wasn't likely that they were coming into contact with other tribes or that they were not procreating with them if they did, because mostly they were related to one another. Their teeth showed signs that they used them as tools as well as for eating because of the way that the wear was on their teeth.
Wait, while it's in their head, they use their teeth as tools?
Yeah, like, to probably like crack things open or
Oh, is
like
that just not to be a human? Like beer
I
bottles?
mean, they didn't have scissors
Don't-
back then, so they were probably
don't
using
open
their
bottles
teeth
with
for
your
a lot
teeth,
more things.
people.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
yes.
now don't. But back then, like
Yeah.
you wanted to get that beer out of the bottle, what you gonna do?
yeah, that bottle that they have. Um, some even had trepanation, which do you guys know what that is?
Isn't
I
that
do.
holes in your skull or something?
Yeah,
It
good. I
is.
don't
It's
actually. Can you tell
essentially
me?
brain surgery. So this was used sometimes to relieve headaches, head injury pressure, and it was also sometimes used for spiritual and ritualistic reasons, like, get the person's acting weird, drill a hole in their head. But yeah, not
Yeah.
quite. It was more just like they would take out a piece of the
Super
skull
effective,
just
right.
to get to the point of the durameter, which is your outermost level of your brain.
How the hell are
Um,
these people able to like put
They
all
were
that
able to do
together?
this and people survived. That's what's astounding is that
crazy.
these people had healed wounds of this.
Because I
And
mean,
how was the anesthesia at this time?
didn't exist.
It was a
likely.
cloth in your mouth. Like,
Chew on this piece of moss,
yeah.
Oh,
or here, lick this toad.
Yeah, right.
I
And a
would not
child
survive this.
of about 15 had spina bifida. He also
Oh.
appeared to have lost his foot at some point, but there was indication that the stump had actually healed. So his condition also likely meant that he was paralyzed from the waist down. But this means that even then, the community was committed to the survival of everyone. So somebody who obviously couldn't help as much, like couldn't even really get around by themselves, they still did a lot to keep them alive up to the age of 15.
Maybe he was in the kitchen, cooking up
Who
stuff. Or
knows?
that's
Um,
incredible because you'd imagine back then they were a
Mhm.
little more ruthless. Like if you can't contribute, you're
Right.
out.
Even
Well,
if like
exactly.
the smallest defects were like, well, you're basically toast.
Yeah.
Like, no
Well,
one wants you.
and yeah, that's what was pretty remarkable was like these people clearly weren't doing that at that time. They were like, no, it's just, that's who you are type
How the
thing.
times have
Yeah.
changed.
We love our family.
Yeah.
We want
Shocking.
A lot of children show signs of stunted growth, however, and this was likely due to malnutrition or disease. Children and teenagers were buried with more grave goods, is what they called them, than adults were. So this indicated that they were highly valued in the community
That's
more
sad.
than the adults were. And there were a lot of children buried there, which I'm wondering if something is indicating that things started to change in that area over time, because they did say that a lot of the adults, especially the men, were like 6 foot tall, strong boned, but the children
Damn.
seem to have all these issues and this stunted growths. So whether that's from inbreeding or breeding close to your DNA, or whether it was from maybe it was a time when they weren't able to get a lot of food or food sources were deplenishing, not sure.
I mean, that would
There's just
definitely
something
explain
that
the malnourishment.
Yeah. Maybe,
Yeah.
yeah, just during infancy, like babies need so much and sometimes they're not getting enough. Maybe, like, for example, vitamin D isn't in breast milk. And if you're
Mhm.
not getting it elsewhere,
Yeah.
then you're going to have a deficiency and stuff
Which
like that.
we're
So-
all deficient in vitamin D, so we should all be taking vitamin D.
I do when I remember to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, so anyways, that's the actual like bog itself, and there was so much more that they found out from the bodies as well, but that's just kind of my concise list. Sorry, I had to burp. I
Forgiven.
got it out.
Forgive it.
So that's just like my little concise list about it. So next we kind of just talking about like why bogs.
Bogs.
So
Why?
why a bog? So what makes them a sacred place? Some researchers believe that the bogs might have been seen as a portal to the afterlife, that they also were seen by people of the time as a liminal space.
Oh, well, you know that I
know.
love that.
I knew that word would get Megan.
Oh my God, I am hard as a
Um,
rock right now.
Find the nearest bog, Megan.
Yeah. And some also suggested that the acidic water may have been used intentionally to preserve the bodies, that they may have just known that this was something that it did because it was seen very, life in general back then was very, what do you call it? Sacred. What do you call it? Yeah, sacred. So they might have been intentionally trying to preserve them, just like how Egyptians did with the mummies and things like that, right? This specific bog they assume was around 1,300 years that it was used for.
That's oh my
Oh,
god, that's
wow.
a long
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. So next photo is like an artist's rendition of how they used to wrap the bodies. So they would wrap their loved ones in a woven fabric, and it was very intricate how they would wrap them, and then in like a fetal position, and then they would place these bodies in the bog, and they would pierce the clothing with a stake, so with those sticks that you see there, into the peat below to help keep them submerged. As well as it was kind of like a little marker. And you would see they
Yeah.
would put multiple together, which is what you were kind of saying. Like, yeah, it was likely families that they were putting together, almost like a plot for them.
I have 2 comments. Number
Mhm.
1, this looks really cozy.
It does,
Like,
actually.
they're all bundled. I'm like, what a great
Yeah.
nap. I
And
mean,
they're holding like amazing things too, because they always buried them with like
all of
things
their
that
like
they would.
treasures.
Yeah, exactly.
The second thing is that
Mm.
we need to update our ways to be buried list because I
Oh,
didn't know
yeah.
that bogs were an option.
Right,
So
bog body is now an option on
we're gonna
the
have to add
table.
this.
I like it.
Damn. This
Um,
photo is such a cool cross section because
yeah.
I guess I wasn't understanding like because you can't dig a hole in a bog. Like, how would you even do that?
Yeah.
So this, yeah, the visual helps.
Yeah, so that's what they would do, and it would just they just pierce it
Right,
down
these
to
are
keep the
really
body
deep,
down.
I assume.
I don't they must
all
not have been
those
that deep. I think that just over
I mean, not
time
the
they got
body, but
deeper.
like the
Oh,
the
yeah,
stakes
into
where they
the
pierced
peat.
into
Yeah,
right.
to keep everything down. Yeah, that's how they were there. So it's the peat that would preserve everything so well. And how it does this is that it decreases the pH in the environment to make it more acidic, which inhibits growth of bacteria and other microorganisms that usually aid in the decomposition of organic materials. So, bodies.
Chemistry occurs.
Chemistry happens.
Mhm.
And it's also so compact. So peat is so compact itself that it has a low amount of oxygen that can actually get in there. So that environment is also waterlogged and there's no more room for oxygen. So this helps to create an anaerobic environment, once again, limiting the amount of bacteria that can be in there. So we got the peat itself that can't have any bacteria. We got the peat making the water different so it doesn't have bacteria. And then the peat is also full of tannins, which are a
Wine?
natural preservative. Yes, that's what we're doing is we're pickling ourselves all the wine
Okay.
that we drink.
My God.
And it actually can tan the skin, which inhibits decay of the organic material, like what they do with leather.
It
'Cause they
makes you
put that on
brown.
leather, right? And the tannins are also
Tea.
antimicrobial.
Oh, wow, this is a episode of crazy words.
Yes. So
Archaeological
leather,
micro. No, I can't even. Say it again. What's say?
microbial.
Microbial. I can't say it.
You're adding an R.
I am. Microbial. Anyway.
So whether or not the Indigenous were aware of the preservation properties of the peat, maybe it was one of those things of like, hey, we learned over time from watching this happen. It might have just started as like, we want to bury them here to, oh, this preserves them, so we'll continue. It's not really known, and we don't have like writings from the time to be able to tell us why they were doing it there. So that's the Windover Bog bodies. And
Are there more
there
bogs?
are, as we said, lots of bogs. Lots and lots and lots of bogs all over the world. And since most of these wouldn't really be a whole thing itself, I have some other ones that I just want to touch on because, the rabbit holes that I went down.
I want to
brought
touch
me
the
to a
bodies in
lot
the
of-
bogs.
Yes,
No,
exactly.
I think it's so fascinating when bodies like preserved or like they find a corpse that's like 2,000 years old or
God.
something like that.
I
Blows
just
my
read
mind.
something recently that said that they were they found
A
the
mammoth.
Black Plague
What?
in mummy
What?
DNA
No,
recently.
put it back. What? Don't look
Well,
at
the
it.
Black Plague still gets people every once in a while, but it's just, we give you antibiotics now and you're okay.
Vaccines.
we have the cure.
work.
Wait, pharmaceuticals?
It's time to get yours.
Did you get on with it?
You've waited long enough.
I thought you were gonna say about some of the creatures, different animals that have been found like in ice. There was like a mammoth that was found with like food
Well,
in its stomach and a saber-toothed
yeah.
tiger or something. Like
So I don't touch on it here, but there is a bog. I think it's found in Siberian ice. They have found like woolly mammoths and things in
That's
bogs that
so
were preserved by
cool.
the peat
That's
there.
so cool.
That's really cool.
Yeah,
Pete's really just doing the most because humans
it
are like,
is.
I don't know what to do.
And
Pete's
here I
like,
thought it was just
I
something
got
to
it.
like put into your garden, and it's like, hey, you can make this into
Mhm.
coal. You can.
I didn't even know the cool part. I know
Yeah.
that Pete, that's why I mentioned like the medieval era, that it was used to build like little huts, like mud huts, and to burn. But I didn't know about all this
Yeah.
other cool shit that it was
Yeah.
doing.
It was doing
Well, the-
everything. It was doing the most. Apparently, it also releases a lot of CO2 into the air, though, which isn't
Well,
like great. But
what does it this day? You know?
what can we do? So,
I'm sure it's not the worst.
Yeah.
it's not the worst
offender.
thing that's putting it out there. Yeah.
I always love when someone's like, well, did you know that cows that fart put more CO2 out aside from cars or whatever? I'm like, I'd rather cows be doing their own thing than us like burning shit that's making it. Like,
Yeah, I
let the
think
cow
earth
fart
can
in
handle the
peace.
cow farts.
Yes.
Okay. No, but also people get into that because then they're like, well, we don't need as many cows. It's because of overconsumption and how
That's
much
also
meat
true.
we're producing.
That's also
and
true.
Blah, blah, blah.
It's crazy.
Anyways,
Right.
I'm going to continue
Sorry.
on with this because otherwise we're going to keep going.
Next
So-
episode.
The next one that we have here is the Tolan Man. These are actually your next two photos.
I've heard of
And
this.
he was discovered in 1950 near Silkeborg, Denmark, and he dates back to the 4th century BCE.
This
which
is like
during
your
the Iron Age.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is this like your cousin?
Yeah, exactly.
grandfather.
Um,
Times a million.
he was found with a noose around his neck.
Bad boy.
And his body was so well preserved at the time of discovery that he was actually initially mistaken for a recent murder victim. You can see all of his facial features, and they were able to tell what his last meal was in his stomach.
Oh my god, you can even see that the facial hair
I
on
was
his
just gonna
I
say, you
know,
can see
his
like the
eyebrows
stubble.
and like the stubble. I
stubble,
know, it's
yeah.
crazy, isn't it? And if you go to the next one, you can see like the noose and everything there too.
Oh, geez. Oh,
Yeah.
his face and his
so it looks like
foot.
his body itself decomposed
Yeah.
a bit. But yeah, the
His
So
face
I
and-
do talk about this.
Okay,
So
okay.
he is one of the more famous bog bodies because his discovery provided a lot of insights into the Iron Age rituals and life. And what they currently have on display at the Silkeborg Museum in Denmark is just the face and the foot. And that's because at the time they didn't have sufficient techniques to keep everything well preserved.
Oh.
So what they did was they removed, no, sorry, his foot's not real either. It's so that they removed his head. It was just his head that stayed preserved. And they were able to take his skeletal remains. Sorry, my cat is going nuts right now on the chair over there. She has found a toy and she's going crazy. You can, where was I? They used the skeletal remains to make a replica of the body. So it's only
Okay, so
his
this is the
head.
replica on the second
Yeah.
page.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's just his head that's real. The rest was a replica made from the rest of it.
But even if you
Um,
just found
But they
the
used
head
it
and the
based off
rope,
of what
like,
they found.
like his you can it looks like a person that just is painted black for some kind of art exhibit. Like this looks like a human that's alive right now. It's wild.
I mean, it reminds me of those like Pompeii when you see like the
Ugh.
Pompeii ones that were found and everything.
yeah. Holy
Um,
moly.
So the next three photos are the Grobel Man, and he was
Oh.
discovered in 1952 near a village in Jutland, Denmark.
What's with the 50s, man? They're out there in bogs just
know.
hanging out.
He dates back to 321 to 261 BCE, which is during
What?
their Germanic Iron Age, and the man was likely killed by having his throat slit. This was commonly believed to have been for human sacrifice. And his
Oh.
body was placed in the bog where it was naturally preserved for over 2,000 years.
And this red hair was preserved too.
So they think that he was actually brunette, and it's the tannins that dyed his hair
Okay.
red.
But his
yeah.
hair was
I was
preserved.
gonna say I know people like were like
Yeah.
really like weird about redheads. Sorry.
Yeah,
Megan.
maybe that's why they
But
sacrificed
I'm
him.
just like,
I'm not even a true
This is
redhead.
taking it too
Just
far.
Depends on the light.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes, you are a blonde babe.
But I
But,
mean, I'd have my throat slit for many other reasons, I'm sure.
oh yeah.
That's
Like
that
this is
mouth.
the
got a
least.
few.
The hair is the least
Right.
of the problem.
So he's one of the more spectacular bog bodies discoveries in Denmark's discoveries about Denmark's prehistory. He was found naked without any artifacts or clothing, and his body showed signs of significant calcium deficiency at the time of death, and that there had been periods of starvation during his early childhood.
Oh,
They did, however, mention that his hands were soft, indicating that he had not done hard labor during his lifetime.
bitch.
So
So he might have
this,
been rich.
Yeah, he might have. Well, I mean, but he still had times of not eating as well, it seems. So I don't know whether
He
he
lived a
just
very interesting life that we'll
he
probably
did.
never know about.
Yeah.
He did. And then, yeah, I said about how the hair got dyed because of the tannins and the peat.
And the way
He
he's
was,
positioned too is like his head is
uh,
not right.
I know
not comfortable.
his head's like backwards and his back's on top. And then, yeah, it's a very weird way to
Yeah.
sleep.
Like
Um,
the from the waist down, comfortable, and then the
yeah.
torso is almost
And then
completely the other way. Like
it just
Yeah,
gets
it makes
weird
me think
from
he was
there.
either moved like after he died or he was like buried
It
alive
could
or
have
something. I
been
don't know.
how, yeah, who knows? Or maybe once other things got put into the bog and started moving that. But he was so well preserved that they were actually able to get fingerprints from him.
what? Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, was he in
Yeah,
But
CODIS?
they don't have a match anywhere in their database.
No.
Okay, hold
No.
on. I just flipped to the photo of his face, and oh my god. Okay,
Yeah, so it's his full
I'm not
body, his
okay.
face, and then his hands.
I
It's
really
actually
hate
an up
his
close
face.
of his hands.
I know.
Oh, his hand. That's actually a
Yeah.
beautiful photo in some kind of scary, haunting way. But
Yeah.
his face,
Right. The first photo is much more hauntingly beautiful than the second photo.
the second one is stuff of nightmares, and it looks like he has
Yeah.
a cheap ass Timu wig on his head. Like it looks really.
It does. It
Okay,
looks like
he's
there's
gonna
even a
haunt
bobby
you
pin
tonight
on the
if you keep
front.
saying this stuff.
Oh my god, I'm so not okay. But the hand photo is actually
Yeah.
quite beautiful. It's
Yeah.
Right.
it's still
So
kind
you
of scary.
can see this body on display at the Mosgard Museum near Aarhus, Denmark.
Nailed it.
Thank you.
All right.
Obviously, this is like girls' trip number 820.
1000.
Yeah. I eventually have to take Chantal back to the homeland.
Yes.
Yes, I do. I need to see
And-
my mermaid.
And we need to go to our homeland. Yeah. Scotland.
Then the motherland. Yeah. So the next one is the Gaelic man.
Ooh.
And he is a well-preserved Iron Age body discovered in 1821 in County Galloway, Ireland. And he was a healthy 6-foot-tall male, estimated to be around 25 years old at the time of death.
Hot.
So how did a
wow.
healthy young man die? He was
doesn't-
found with what was called a withy hoop, which is a rope made of twisted willow twigs around
Oh,
his
no.
neck, indicating that he was strangled, possibly once again for a ritual killing or for execution. And his body was dressed in a long deerskin cape and was pinned down in the bog with 2 wooden stakes. His
So he
teeth,
wouldn't, like,
hair, and
float and
skin were
stuff.
all preserved. Yeah.
Wow.
But are you ready to get a little bit mad?
Okay.
Try to keep
Okay.
in mind that this is 1821 when the
Oh,
body was
no.
discovered, but the remains were initially found on the land of the O'Kelly family, and they were a very well-to-do, powerful family, and apparently their ancestors built the Gaelic castle during the medieval period, and they used the body as an attraction and would dig it up to the body to paying customers and then rebury it again, obviously causing some damage.
Some damage.
What?
It wasn't until 1829 that he was fully excavated and acquired by the Royal Irish Academy. So now he's
Can
part
you
of a
imagine
collection.
Just all the work. Like, oh, hey, you want to see this mummy that I have? Just hold on. We need
Do
35
you just have
minutes to
the
dig it
hand
up.
picture? It's just the hand.
No, it's right after the
That's
hand.
okay.
Yeah,
He
just
definitely
him.
looks
Yeah,
more like
he looks
skeleton
little-
with skin.
He
Right.
looks like when the part in the Mummy where they open up the
Yes.
tomb and he comes forward and he looks really creepy.
And they
That's
also
not
they
him.
look
as
juicy.
well
And I'm
preserved
like,
as some
also,
of the
how
other
hot
ones,
is
but-
Brendan Fraser in that movie? And also Rachel
How-
Weisz.
How hot
You know what?
was
The whole
everybody
cast.
in that
The
movie?
whole cast.
Brendan Fraser
Oh,
in
we-
any movie was
Awesome.
Airheads, hot. George of
He's-
the Jungle,
He's
hot.
really hot in Airheads.
Yeah.
Every time I think of the Mummy, though, it makes me want to watch it again. I might have to watch it.
Yeah.
Tonight. I don't know.
I'm not
I agree.
kidding. I know we talked about the mummy one previous episode, and I did in fact watch it right after.
Oh yeah,
And
me
I'll-
too.
I'll
And I
just
had
watch
only
it.
just watched it before that too.
Oh my god.
It's
Everyone's just so sexy, and the story is so fucking cool.
It's
This is
so
kind of-
funny.
It's kind of related to what we're looking at right now / the movie The Mummy. This, you guys may have already heard this, but back in the day when Britain was like, let me just take all the shit that I want, they would take mummies, and there were so many.
Oh,
would
they
have
would
mummy-
eat them.
Well, eat them. But they'd also ground them up and be like, this is the perfect brown paint, and they called it mummy
Mhm.
brown.
Yeah.
Yes, I was actually in a video I sent you earlier today on Instagram.
I have to go check. Okay.
Okay, yeah, just check it out after. And it was
You know
like
what?
all the things you wouldn't survive about living in.
No, you know what?
The
that
Victorian
that
era.
is what that is what
That is one of them.
reminded me. I did watch that, and I was like, yeah, you're right. We would fucking die. But yeah, I've heard that before, and I'm like, I don't understand why you would ground up and be like, let's make this into paint. Anywho,
Yeah.
he's the same color as Bummy Brown.
So I got two more. The next one is the Cloney Cavan man. And he was found in Belvoir, Ireland in March 2003.
Whoa.
And it was a peat harvesting machine that struck the body, and only his torso and head were found, which could have been from the harvesting machine actually cutting him in half. You can see he's kind of cut in half
Oh,
there.
wow.
He looks
Yeah.
Or
kind
it
of
could have been from
aggressively.
how he died.
Yeah, he's kind of looking like a flounder fish, you know?
Oh,
It's
I
like
can
a
see
little.
that, yeah.
He doesn't
He's
look
like
as good as the other ones.
No.
He might have died in kind of a little bit of a gruesome way, so you're going to have to buckle up for that in a minute. But they believe that he died somewhere between 392 to 201 BCE.
My God, what the hell?
They think that
Wow.
he was likely murdered because of the wounds on his body. His skull was split open by something sharp and deep, and the wound
Oh.
had bits of brain in it.
Oh.
He had another large wound across his nose and went under his eye,
I can see
and
it here.
he was disemboweled.
Oh.
Oh my goodness.
This.
It's kind of crazy. I can tell some of those things based
I
off the
know.
state currently,
Mhm.
but
And from
wow.
this, from the what looks like a giant piece of leather,
Oh my
this
That's exactly what it looks like,
yeah,
actually.
yeah. This
And again, the red
or beef
hair, which
jerky.
is the from
Yeah.
the bog. But Ireland, do they have redheads?
I
So
mean, they
maybe
do.
he actually
That could have
is.
gone either way with the hair on this one.
Right.
So they think that it may have been murder or it may have been sacrificial. But interesting, his nipples and other what they call fragile skin were missing. So either from mutilation or they could have decomposed. But it just seemed a little odd.
How
Whatever
does
it
a
was, it made
nipple,
mention.
like,
Just a
I mean,
nipple decompose. I don't
that,
know.
well, that, I mean, I'm not a doctor, but like that doesn't happen.
They lean towards sacrifice due to the proximity of where the body was found, because it was found near a hill that was used for kingship ceremonies.
Yeah, nothing good happens on hills.
Mm.
Yeah.
No
So
thanks.
what's very cool about this body, though, was that his hair was held up with hair gel, which was made up of pine resin and plant oil at the time, and held in a tie. And this actually indicated, so he had like the first man bun. And this indicates that there was trade between Ireland and Southern Europe at the time.
Okay, so they could
Oh.
tell that it wasn't just, oh, some pine shit fell into the bog with him. He was like, let me whip up
No,
some
like
hair
his
gel.
hair was like gelled up
His hair
in
was
like
done.
a ponytail.
That's
The
cool.
parts of the
Okay.
tie were found in his hair still.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
I wonder why he was killed. Like this guy, I know things are so different back then. Human sacrifice is not like new, obviously. It's
Mm-mm.
just, damn. This
And
photo
so
is haunting, by the way. Like,
it
it's
is.
just-
It is.
No.
It does literally look like a giant piece of beef jerky.
It looks like you are draping leather on a skeleton to see what fit, like to see how it would
Yeah.
like drape. Like that's
Mhm.
what it looks like. I don't
Thank
like
you,
it.
ancestors, for enduring this type of
Right?
thing, so we don't have to.
Yeah, we
today.
wouldn't have lasted
No, we would have tapped out a long time ago.
big time.
Oh yeah.
The first meal I had to miss, I would have tapped out. Like,
Yeah.
What do
and
you
then a
mean there's no
plague?
lunch?
No. And then you're a witch on top of that, so
Yeah.
just
Oh,
game
yeah.
over.
Oh, well, you
Yeah,
know what? I'm
did
sure
not
being a
work.
witch back then was like cool. It was only later it was not as cool because back then everyone's
18,
like
yeah.
a feral human, like worshiping multiple gods. But we would have said other shit that would have been like a hot topic. I'm like,
yeah. So lastly is the Yeed girl. It's YGE. I think it's Yeed. She was discovered in 1897 near the village of Yeed in the Netherlands. And the men that found her said that when she rose up to the surface, she, quote, without warning, and the deformed, blackened corpse with the hair the color of fire sent them running. And the entire village believed that they had seen the devil.
I get it.
Yeah, that would be terrifying to just have that coming up
Also,
at you.
that looks like
in
my
water.
hair color,
Right.
which creeps me out.
It does.
Yes.
She was around 16 years old at the time of her death, which
Oh my
occurred
God.
between 54 BCE and 128 CE.
She's more recent.
Wow.
Yeah.
More
Evidence
recent.
evidence
Okay.
shows that she suffered from scoliosis, which stunted her growth. She stood at around 4.5 feet.
Similar to
She
me.
was found with a woolen cape and a woolen band or rope, which is like a braided rope that they did around her neck, suggesting
around
that
her
she was
neck.
strangled. So there was also a stab wound near her collarbone, but that is not the cause of death. Her cause of death actually still remains up for debate, but it's believed that she was likely unconscious when she died because there was no signs of defense wounds. But there's also if she was a sacrifice, she might have accepted the fact that she was going to be a sacrifice and maybe didn't fight back at it. So it was either a sacrifice or execution. She was initially well preserved, but it deteriorated significantly after being discovered. And her remaining remains were now displayed at the Drenz Museum in Assen, and they consist of her head, torso, right hand, and feet.
And her hair is like separate now. Like
Yeah,
It
so
must
I
have
think
been
that they had
with
a
it.
piece of the hair still with it,
Yeah.
but it wasn't quite like on the head. You can even still see a
Yeah.
tiny little piece on top of her head there.
Like a tuft.
Right.
Like a
Yeah.
little.
the hair looks the most well preserved.
Yeah, but her
Yeah.
body, not so much. The rope
Yeah,
looks.
she
the
looks a
rope looks
bit
great, but-
more, which I mean, I guess they did say it. She started to deteriorate quite a bit after she was
Right.
taken up, so maybe that's
I hope
why
they have some
she looks a
pictures
bit
of like
more.
when they first found her.
Well,
but-
yeah. What year again?
I could search
Yeah.
for that.
You already said
2000.
it.
No, when did they find this one? They found her in 1897.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
so
then I'm
yeah,
not-
it's
That's
been
why
for a
that's why
while.
people ran and
Yeah.
said the devil's coming out of the water. Like
Yeah, that's an 1800s type of
Yeah.
thing.
You
to
know what?
say.
Yes, but I'm sure you guys have like seen that trend where someone our age or younger is like telling their parent that like their favorite celebrity has died, and the parent
Oh.
like freaks out, and then someone says, "Oh my God, Mom, Jesus was seen," and the mom like is like, "Oh my God, what? Oh my God!" She freaks out like it's real.
Like,
So
okay.
that concerns me. So,
So-
if you said you saw the devil, people would likely believe you.
Fair. So all in
these-
all, from all that
these are crazy.
information, it just seems like the bogs were used either as like a sacred family burial ground or
Mhm.
as like a place of sacrifice. But bogs were very important in history, and there are so many more than this. Obviously, there's like you can just literally search bog bodies and go to the end of Wikipedia, and it's just like all of these lists of different
Ooh.
bog bodies that are down there.
Well, I
So
know
if
what I'm going to
you-
do tonight.
If you liked this
With all these
episode, get a
bog
pour a glass
bodies.
of wine, look at bog bodies.
Maybe I should have given a warning beforehand that if you don't like mummified bodies, maybe don't watch this video and don't
I'm
look at our photos on
sure
Instagram.
that
I'll
they
put it in
have
the
clicked off-
description
I'm
that
sure
we
people
discuss
have
it.
clicked off long before this point. If they're
Yeah.
like, oh, okay.
We always had the topic there too. So like
Yeah,
bodies
yeah.
isn't the
But if
Yeah.
you thought this was interesting, as I certainly did, let Chantel know. And apparently there's a plethora of other bog bodies that she can fill us in on. And I actually kind of like that you covered a few because there's probably not a lot of information. Like, how could you do a whole episode of one?
Well,
you
that's
know?
what I mean. Even after I finished the Windover stuff, I was like, well, I've told you about a bog. I've told you about Pete. Well, what more do I have?
Give
we
me
don't want
more
a 3-hour
bodies.
episode, but we also don't want it to be like 15 minutes.
yeah.
So no, this is
Let me get into the actual chemical structure here of a bog
Nope.
and break it
And
down
that's
for you.
when I unsubscribe. I want to see people that have hair that are cool colors that have been dyed
Yeah.
by hundreds and thousands of years
Mhm.
of
that
tannins.
the second one there, the graball man with the red hair and the freaky face. I think that was one
Yeah,
of my
I
favorites.
hate it.
Mhm.
I
And
mean, the
also- and
Tolan man is
just-
cool. 'cause he
Again,
is so well
the red
preserved.
hair is the Pete. It's not like only
Yes.
redheaded people are sacrificed.
No.
and
I
Redheads
mean,
out
or
there
maybe
listening.
it was. I don't know. No, they actually know from a lot of the DNA that they've taken that these people, like, especially the Grabble man, that he was likely a brunette based off of like DNA and stuff like that.
Well, now
so.
I'm scared.
Yeah.
Maybe
If we
I have
put
nothing
you
to
in
worry
enough
about.
tannins, if we cover you in Pete, you're gonna come out a redhead.
The gentleman with the most red hair, it looks like you put a Barbie doll in your oven and you forgot about it and then put a wig back on
Yeah.
it. That's what it
Yeah.
looks like.
Yeah.
It
So
does,
I'm actually going to click off that before I start to get sick. Okay. Well, holy crap. I don't know what I was expecting. That was phenomenal. And I do request that you do this again.
Okay,
Yeah.
we'll do
More
it in at
bodies,
least a
more
year.
bogs.
We'll do
Yeah,
it at next
okay.
Florida Day.
Florida Day.
Yes. Every year on Florida Day.
Except not, because it's a marketing
I'm sure
ploy,
Florida
but-
has lots of material actually for us.
Yeah,
Sorry,
We don't have
like,
to stop it.
fair.
Bog bodies.
We could make a whole podcast just on Florida stuff that happens, and we would never run
Yes.
out.
Welcome to
Mhm.
our Florida podcast.
Oh my God, we go to Florida and host a show.
Oh yeah, that'd be
Get us some
perfect.
gator bites. I
Ugh.
remember that part made me cry. Like I was
can't remember
screaming,
why.
crying. Well, because they were just doing that really funny accent, like the southern,
Yeah.
gator bites for $1.99, and I was just
Like what we
losing my
do.
shit. So funny.
Yeah,
When I
Okay.
hear that, it does actually remind me of you. I think because you found it the most funny.
I've
Yeah,
not ruined it. Now
that's
it's
fair.
me, and it's not wine and crime.
right. Right.
Okay, well, I know that we have to kind of get going, so thank you so much for a very informative and horrifying episode, as always.
Yes.
Loved it.
You're not
No
going to sleep well
problem.
tonight. That's
No.
fine.
yeah.
No,
I'll
not at
have
all.
pleasant dreams of mummies. Just go watch Brendan Fraser. It'll make everything better.
Oh my God.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone
Best-
do that if
Best
you want
dreams
to.
ever.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, a palate cleanser.
Yeah, there we go.
Brendan Fraser cleansed my palate. Actually, Rachel's even hotter, I think, than
I-
Brendan.
Oh, yeah, she's gorgeous.
Oh, she's
Yeah.
so gorgeous. And her outfits, oh my
Why
God.
not
Okay.
both?
Okay, we have to stop.
But-
Okay. Awesome job. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you, Chantal.
We love
Bye.
you all.
See you next
We'll
week,
talk soon.
everyone.
Bye.
Thank you for listening today. We loved having you. If you liked the episode, share with your friends, family, or anyone who would enjoy it. Also, take a moment to review our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube. Leaving us a like or comment really helps. If you'd like to buy us a coffee, please visit our coffee page at www.ko-fi.com/coastfiles. Email us at coastfilespod@gmail.com. Follow us on Instagram at coastfilespod, or visit our website at www.coastfiles.com. You can find the sources for today's episode on our website. See you next week with a new episode.